here we are. I feel inspired to share some things that are off the mat. I want to talk about the mind part of yoga today and do that through sharing with you some experiences that I've had in the last week or two. If you are on Instagram with me and you maybe have seen a post, talked about what is my part? What am I to be doing? Here we are, it's 2020, and we've had quarantine, we've had this mandates for masks and so on. What should I be doing? And so I've actually prayed and pondered quite a bit about what is my part. In the midst of that came, it's been maybe about 2 weeks ago, a practice that I was just on my mat doing my asana practice, and there was a very strong voice that came to me. And that voice inside of me said, go to closing right now. As I went through the last few poses, that voice said, lay down in Shavasana and listen to me. Okay. And as I did that, there was this very distinct, short, direct thing that came to me, which was Wednesday mornings, Renee's studio, 6 to 8 a.m. And I'm like, okay. I didn't exactly know what that was. I had been pondering some things, and so I had a little bit of an idea. But that experience has led to tremendous growth for me. It's not really about my story, but it's about patterns that we all have in our life, and that by sharing with you some of what happened, it will help you to see those patterns in your life as well. Renee is a longtime yoga teacher here in the Kansas City area, and she was part of my teacher training, though I did not know her very well. I don't think we ever really had a one-on-one conversation. She was in some classes during my teacher training, which has been like 4 years ago. So I contacted Renee and ended up setting up an appointment, and we had this amazing discussion. Her energy, her love was so open and welcoming to me. And this led to some other ideas about what is this Wednesday morning thing that I was kind of directed towards. Well, not going into all of the details, I one day had a very, it was just an open, wonderful experience of ideas flowing through me and writing them down, and it had to do with leading a practice for people which was actually silent. And the purpose of that practice was to tune into love and understand what real love is. Not that romantic kind of love, but the kind of love that has great power. The scriptures call it charity. So this kind of became very expansive in my mind, how this could work and how it actually could grow and expand out, not just be a yoga thing, but to really help people during this time where there's a lot of fear in the community. And we know that the opposite of fear is love. So if we can grow love, it can create more unity. And that day there was this great feeling of expansiveness. And then later on, I had what I call a reality check, and things in my mind began to go actually the opposite direction. And the next morning, I wrote this email to my teacher. It's one of those that you kind of don't want to share. You would like to kind of hide those days because it was darkness and it didn't feel good. I was trying to do what was right. I was trying to use my mind. I'm going to read what I wrote to my teacher in an email. I said, by the time I was heading for bed last night, a reality check was beginning to come. This morning it has fleshed out. My thought process yesterday was based in my perception filter that is too big of a jump for the general public. It would be like casting pearls before swine. I'm realizing I have had this my whole life. I must have had these big dreams a lot. I can hear my dad say, Carol and her big dreams, or her big ideas is what he would say. So I go on to explain my thought process and how I don't think that this idea that was so expansive the day before is actually going to work. And Kim sent this very important email back. She said, Carol, on those paragraphs in your email you wrote, they were from embodying the energy of fear and judgment. And she said a little bit more. I'm going to go back and add to that, but to make it clear, I was embodying, taking into my body fear and judgment. And she's spot on. That's exactly what I was doing. I was afraid of what people were going to think. That really was where I was. And my words did not deny that when I wrote them down. So going back, adding to what she wrote, there was a big parentheses, but it's hard to understand it until you know that what the end of the sentence is going to be. So my words came from a place of embodying the energy or belief systems, behaviors, perspectives, ancestral asleepness of fear and judgment. So what I was taking in was a belief system of things that have been passed down to me for generations. We all have these patterns that have come. It has to do with our survival here in this mortal body. And she goes on to say, those things are not actual truth. They could be your dad's truth. They could be your truth, a community's or a world's truth. That is different from the truth with a capital T. And then she says, you can continue to resonate the frequency through ancestral DNA of energy, of fear and judgment of self and others, and bring those things about yourself and into reality. So that's one choice. I can continue to bring into my body, to embody fear and judgment. And what will happen is those will bear fruits. And in this case, the fruit would be that I would not see in reality those ideas that I had the day before. She says, or you can choose something different. This was very powerful to me because I felt the difference between light, truth, growth, expansion on one day, and bam, the next day, it was darkness. It was actual depression. I knew that spirit because I had lived with that kind of darkness, smallness for so long. And it feels like when you have depression, anxiety, bad feelings, it feels like you have no choice in the matter. It just feels like it comes to you. But what I realized is I did have a choice. I actually was entertaining thoughts that took me to a dark spot. And when I continued to nurture those thoughts, the darkness would grow. I chose to go back to the original idea that felt like growth and light. And I had to work at it. There were some obstacles that were placed in my way. I had to show that I was willing to listen to that internal voice that came to me. 2 days ago, I didn't think it was going to work. But as I shifted my thoughts and I stayed with it, it worked out. And yesterday, we had our first silent practice in that space. Hopefully, having shared that story, we can judge better between light and dark, between growth and contraction in our life, and know that it is a choice that we make to embody, bring into our body those different energies. And we have a choice to say, no, I will not embody, bring into my body an energy that is not expansive. I'd love to hear from you if you want to talk more about that and make it more personal, maybe some stuff that you're dealing with in your life. This has been a great revelation for me. I'm very grateful to my teacher who helped me in real time to see what was going on inside of me.